Hello, everyone. My name is Mafule Muswane. Alongside me is Busiso Gama. I'll just do a brief introduction about myself, and he will do the same, and then we have this conversation. But what brings us here is the responses for the Fourth Industrial Revolution Commission instituted by President Cyril Ramaphosa of South Africa. So I am the author and ambassador of Club Readership and the director faculty of Best Advisory, and I'm an author among other things and a teacher. So Sbu, please introduce yourself.
Indeed, thank you very much, leadership. Greetings to everyone. As Mafule had said, I'm also part of this mission. My name is Busiso Gama, Busiso Johannes Gama. I am the co-founder of Club Readership and the author of Life Stains and Wonders, and I also happen to be a teacher. We welcome you today to this presentation, and we hope that you ride along with us. Over to you, leader.
And I think, Mr. G, before you share with everyone the layout, we want to usher a perspective and bring a voice that represents youth to this conversation, and we are that youth, and we are inviting more.
Indeed, leader. I think the layout of what we're trying to do is going to initiate with the gratitude message, the framework, the structure, a historical characterization of context of the 4IR Commission, silencing of other voices by Professor Chilip Marwala, diverse media platforms and ways of knowledge creation to democratize knowledge, linguistic democracy, responses and the list of responses, and the conclusion, as well as references that we have used to structure this response, because we want to observe intellectual integrity. Indeed, leader.
Of course, leadership. So as you can see, this is me and Johannes, this was back in 2016 when we started writing and really doing work that heals the souls, the minds, and the spirits of African people. So we've written quite a number of books. But first and foremost, we would like to thank the public for welcoming this conversation. President Cyril Ramaphosa, Prof. Chilip Marwala, and all the commissioners who have received our preamble and also are still engaging on it, and more it's coming. That's what we can say. But we come to this conversation as children of the oppressed, coming from rural areas and townships across Africa. We do so with intellectual humility. We do so with emotional generosity. We do so with cultural sensitivity and political tolerance. And this is what Ubuntu is all about. The notion that umundu ngumundu ngabantu, motu gimotu gabatu. And we thank you so very much for really allowing us to be part of this. So, Mr. G, teach us.
As young people say, sipagati inside. Look at the smiles of all these young people there on the picture of Club Readership. Young people who had realized that we need to revive the culture of reading and writing as it is a necessity in South Africa. And the reason why we exist today is to answer to that call. So we are going to be responding to this 4IR Commission using Club Readership as a platform for our voice, because we realize that we can't be depending on other people when we can create our own platforms, because voices get silenced if you depend on other people. We're also going to be using other 21st century technologies to aid our approach in this response so that we are inclusive in indeed leadership.
Of course, this is a beautiful story that is unfolding, and for the structure in terms of how this will unfold, I mean, it will not be in a particular order of importance, but just for us to have a direction. The preamble points out the historical nature of this work and not being situated in the context of Africa. or Azania to be specific. So we refer to Azania because we believe that, you know, saying South Africa, you're just pointing the direction of where the country is. So Azania really is located south of Africa. Second, we recognize that many voices were silenced due to the dominance of Prof. Marwala's views as the mouthpiece and undoubtedly the foremost thinker of artificial intelligence in the context of Azania in the world. And third, we highlight the media platforms we will use and equally highlight the limitations of relying on one media platform. And fourthly, we surface the lack of linguistic democracy in the post-apartheid Azania. 26 years in democracy on pertinent issues of our land. That I think Mongameli isikhathi sifikile ukuthi sikhulume amalimi wethu rebulele pulelo jabo rena sipejisere pulelo kilihumo. Muranga Panda, Waduva Naduva, it's your time to tell us your perspective in terms of how we unfold this narrative.
Continuing with the structure, my leader, thank you for that. Fifth, we are going to share the response process in terms of how is it going to unfold, step 1, step 2, until the end of it. And sixth, really, we want to say we list the recommendations published by Professor Chilidzi Marwala, therefore re-inviting the citizens of South Africa to reread what is it that was written and come back to the conversation and stay on it and process those ideas, then also be revived to give life to their own ideas according to pertaining this 4IR commission. The penultimate aspect of our gratitude message for welcoming our input and allowing us to be part of the commission in intellectual spirit, despite not having been initially invited. The last part of the structure is the conclusion and the references that we have used to guide our approach.
Indeed, Mungameli, indeed. This is the story of Africa, and for far too long, Africa has been erased from the canon of ideas, you know. And in this response, we say the fourth industrial revolution, right? And we dwell on this conceptualization as a reference to the commission, but not on the acknowledgement that the current industrial revolution is the fourth, right? We believe there have been many before the first. It's just that they haven't been counted because it depends who's writing these stories. It depends
and who's counting.
And who's counting, right? And you know, the perspective is, in our view, are really Eurocentric and not Afrocentric at all, right? Because Marwala is the mouthpiece of the commissioners, writes from a Eurocentric lens and counts industrial revolution, particularly those situated outside of Africa. Doesn't mention those which have happened in Africa. And for us, we want to problematize that and say the erasure of the African stories in the canon of ideas should not continue, not now and not ever. And as you can see, look here, we just have a few pictures from Mapungube site, you know, one of the most historical sites of Azania or South Africa. And we are saying we will respond at some point to these ideas, locating the revolutions in the past, but to say this is the evidence that you might look at as a reference to why we say there have been many other revolutions. In the kingdom of Mapungube, there was trading, there was mining. As you can see, these are gold materials, and they were used then. But
Indeed,
this is an unfolding story, and Mr. G continues to tell this beautiful story.
So as a point of departure, my leader, what we want to do is to acknowledge that through history, there are many groups of voices that have been marginalized and they have been tamed, and predominantly we're talking here about Black people, Black women, members of LGBTQIA plus, people living with disabilities, people from rural areas and township. So we are saying Professor Chilizi Marwala writes the recommendations to the 4IR, the 4IR Commission recommendations alone. So, and that is against developing human capital, because when you develop people, you give them the opportunity and you give them the voice and the representation in what is unfolding. So we're saying that we are worried that the recommendations only cater to a select and the elite part of South Africa. So we're just saying we need it to embrace the diversity in South Africa. And this goes as much as, if you look at the 4IR Commission, my lead, you have Professor Chilizi Marwala and you have other commissioners, but we don't hear their voice. So therefore, Professor Chilizi Marwala becomes the mouthpiece, and what he says, we are supposed to receive it as the gospel truth. And that's what generally we are questioning, to say, knowledge is there, is produced, and it's there to be contested. And as young people, we can't just sit there and watch. So that's why, and hence we say we bring forth our responses to the commission.
Absolutely, leadership. I think we are of the view that we are not only ground forces, but the intellectual spirits of Africa. And our ideas and ways of existence need to find expression anywhere and anytime, like the spirit. So that's what we are ushering in here. Here we have one of the most inspirational people, Prof. Njabulo Ndebele, who writes from the context of South Africa about linguistic democracy, that African languages, particularly the indigenous languages of South Africa, need to be given some form of value, right? And that's what we are also bringing forth and drawing inspiration from also Ngungi wa Thiong'o, who writes in the book Decolonizing the Mind, that the people ought to be part of the creation of their culture. And that has to be in them writing in their own languages. Bangwale ka maleme a bo bona, or polelo tsa bo bona di tswele pele, kuthi inkulumo zabo zinga I'm learning isiZulu also in the process languages. So siyacela with the commission to start writing in the languages of the people. Siyacela kuni ra khopela. Because writing only in English excludes indigenous people of Tanzania, like the previous arrangements of colonization and apartheid. Siyazithoba thina sithi. We are the privileged ones who went to Wits University. At the time, it was a top institution in Africa, right? We know English. We can read in the Mail and Guardian, but we are saying, those who are not like me and Gamma, how do we reach out to them? That is us dealing with our own privilege and critiquing our own selves and saying to all of you, let's move forward and bring others with us.
You have nailed it in the park, my leader. I think just to add on that, also we would have loved to have maybe somebody working with us on this, maybe translating this into sign language, so that maybe we cater for those who can't understand English and who can't maybe who can't understand the forms of expression that we have used. But maybe in the future we are hoping for better days. We also maybe appeal to the commission to say they need to translate whatever the work that they have already done, maybe has been written by Professor Chilizi Marwala. They need to translate it into all the other 11 official languages in South Africa. I mean, what is the commission there for? And they therefore also need to take all of that work that they have and publish it in all other media platforms. As you can see here on this slide, we encourage the use of diverse media platforms and ways of knowledge creation. So for instance, we see that what was used to publish the recommendations was Mail and Guardian. And as we all know, Mail and Guardian is only available to the elite part of South Africa. And we are saying we could use and utilize other platforms that are accessible to black people who do not have access to Mail and Guardian. For instance, we can use Daily Sun. You know that is a publication for the location and the rural people in general. And we can utilize Club Readership, to cater for the readership that to cater for the young people who are part of Club Readership. And we are just saying we're not including ourselves because maybe we like ourselves, but we're saying let all platforms be used. And in terms of knowledge creation, let it not only be through writing. Let this be a video. Let this be an audio. Let this encourage inclusivity. And if you think about young people, they don't like reading, most of them. We know that. And they are mostly consumed in social media. So we need to then use Facebook. And even when you're using Facebook, you can't just share the link to the article. You need to copy and paste for those who cannot follow the links and they are using Facebook Lite. We also need to put it on LinkedIn, put it on YouTube, on WhatsApp, wherever where we can find young people of Azania. Indeed.
Everywhere and anywhere, like the Holy Spirit, my leadership of note. I concur, because that's the practice of democracy. We need to give it full expression. We need to give it full expression at all material conditions. Here is a picture of Mafule and Prof. Chilizi Marwala. We bring forth these pictures as evidence, material evidence, to show that we have been with him and we've been listening to him and we really draw inspiration from him. But when needs be, the ideas need to be contested, right? Yeah. The ideas need to be enriched so that all of us can be represented in this reimagination of Azania. Prof writes all these 8 recommendations and he demonstrates his intellectual prowess, but we are worried that it's not representative of the demographics of the commission and equally so of South African people. That we don't see ourselves in these recommendations. We feel excluded, and that's why we come to the party of ideas without being invited. We are crashing in because we feel like we deserve a seat on the table. So we will respond to all these commissions. Myself and Vusiso have laid a foundation with the preamble, but we are encouraging all young people from all walks of life to choose one, or those which are not even here, to respond. They can email Club Readership for them to be able to have their articles published, and we will spread them out like Mr. G has said, on Facebook, LinkedIn, everywhere and anywhere. That's the approach we are taking. We are not working for the elites. We are working for Azania, Africa, and her people. And so we encourage you to go back and read the work of Chilizi Marwala. Some of you might not have access to those articles, and through Club Readership, we will share them to you so that you start reading, because we encourage the culture of reading in Africa and the diaspora. So, indeed. And I think in sum on this aspect, we could say we will propose for the naming of the institute to be Prof. Chilizi Marwala Artificial Intelligence Institute, right? To say we appreciate his work, but we want to add on it, as young people, because it's our work. It's not the work of one individual. It's our work. It's our future. And we don't want Prof. Marwala to be the only one working hard. Other commissioners need to work. All of us, even those who are not appointed, need to do our part to show our capacity, track record, and impact in society. Mr. G.
Generally, indeed.
This is an unfolding story.
The story is unfolding, my leader. As you said, the best pages of our lives are yet to be written.
Of course. What a nice picture, hey?
It's a very nice picture, my leader. I think maybe what I take away from it is, number one, that you can see that we are, as young people, in their diverse capacity and way of thinking. However, we collaborate and we find synergy where possible. Also here, we follow the work of Professor Chiliti Marwala deeply and extensively. We are inspired and encouraged by him. So differing with him ideologically does not mean we are fighting with him. It is just to contest the knowledge as you had articulated, my leader, and to say there are other ideas and maybe it was a mistake on his side. So we need to question him and bring him forward and say, leadership, what is the way forward? Here's how we think. And general.
Of course.
And yeah, my leader, I think just maybe to add on this, okay, so our responses, my leader, are going to be structured in this way. We are going to publish on the CR magazine, and we take the link, we put it in an email, we write nicely, you know, reflect where possible. Just to catch, you need to leave no stone unturned, my leader. And we send the messages, we send the email to the government, and we will also utilize other platforms and other 21st century technologies to get our voice out there and let it be heard.
Indeed, indeed. No, I think you have covered it well, leadership. And I think, you know, in some, as we really appeal to young people, is that these are the ideas that are predicting the future of your country, right? And we are in a place called Madibe. We are swimming in the pool of ideas, right? And we are not saying we are owning monopoly of knowledge, right? We are inviting you, wherever you are, to be part of this story. We're inviting you, either you are a traditional leader, either you are a king, either you are a sangoma, either you have never been to university, to bring your voice to the fore, for your voice to be heard. Anywhere and whoever you are, this is your story, because this is your land. So my view is that, Mr. G, as I allow you to sum, is that, you know, this is an unfolding story. The best is yet to come, and the best pages of our lives are yet to be written. This is from a book called A Learner's Guide to Academic Success, published by Club Readership. And this is a story that says we've been creating knowledge since earlier on in our lives, and this is the continuation of that project. And we are saying young people should be part of this, from all aspects of life. And Mr. G, this is the first of many conversations to come, right? Through the president. And maybe you can allow me to sit down with hope by telling us what happens, what do we do from here? Because I'm filled with so much hope that the best is
Indeed. I think maybe just to add on that in closure, my leader, I'm reminded of one of our leaders in the form of Hans, when he said, as young people, we have answered the calling of callings, and that is to serve. We are not doing this to give ourselves, to make ourselves feel nice, but we are serving. We are servants, my leader. And to add to that, I think, my leader, the key message, the takeaway message is that I appeal to young people, my leader. You know, I humbly request and come before young people to say, as a young people, we ought to have the audacity and the tenacity to divorce the old toxic ideas and have the temerity and the courage to marry new, healthy, and innovative ideas. Over to you, my leader, as I cross over to the canon of ideas and the nook and cranny of young people. Because, you know, my leader, young people need to articulate their aims, accomplish their actions, and achieve their goals. We need to be everywhere and anywhere like the Holy Spirit, my leader. Like the Holy Spirit, my leader. We need to leave no stone unturned, no hand unshaken, and no belly unkissed. Off we go.
We are led above and beyond. We are led. So the actual article is below the video. you know, read the preamble and read as much as you can. We are encouraging the culture of reading. We are acquainted with diction in club readership. We are united in excellence in faculty of best advisory. And of course, as a collective young people living for ideas, we are the ones we have been waiting for, because we have great ideas to live for, great institutions to build, above and beyond everything, great duties to perform. Magwan, peace be with you. Amen.